Welcome to a kind of, I guess, special edition animal appreciation where we are not, in fact, talking about animals, we are talking about space shit. In specific, today we are doing a nebula appreciation because I want to talk about nebulae. This first one up here is the Robin's Egg Nebula, and nebula in broad terms are just kind of a collection of gases and space dust and other stuff that form this kind of very interesting, really pretty glowing cloud out in space. They're usually found in different constellations. The Robin's Egg specifically is found in the Fornax constellation, and it is a planetary nebula, which doesn't actually have anything to do with planets, but it basically means that it was formed around the end of the life of a red giant star. Next up is the Helix Nebula, also known as the Eye of God Nebula or the Eye of Sauron Nebula, which, fair enough. It is found in the Aquarius constellation and is another planetary nebula, which broadly refers to the kind of spherical blue-ish shape. Up next we have probably my favorite nebula, the Rosette Nebula, which kind of, if you look closely, looks like a human skull. You can see there's kind of the two eye sockets. Oh, where'd my hand go? Okay, well, one eye socket and then kind of the nose hole up here. It is found kind of on the outskirts of the Milky Way galaxy and is not a planetary nebula, as you can see by the lack of the kind of concentrated blue sphere. Up next is the Orion Nebula, found in, you guessed it, the constellation of Orion, specifically around the Sword of Orion, not really in Orion's belt, which is the most noticeable feature, but up towards the top of it. It's one of the brightest nebulas and can actually be seen with the naked eye, whereas most nebulas are seen with a telescope. These images in specific have usually been taken with a very powerful telescope such as the Hubble or the James Webb. This one is the Mermaid Nebula, also known as the Beta Fish Nebula, and it's classified as a supernova remnant, which is kind of the cloud of space, dust, and gas and junk left over after a supernova event. A supernova is basically the very large and dramatic death explosion of a star, usually a very large star or a white dwarf star. But it basically, a star goes supernova, it explodes dramatically, and what's left is a supernova remnant nebula. The Mermaid Nebula is found within the constellation Centaurus. Next we have another favorite of mine, the Cosmic Bat Nebula, which is found in the constellation of Ophiuchus. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. Now, the Cosmic Bat Nebula is what is known as a dark nebula, as opposed to some of the other more regular nebulae. Now, most nebulae are visible because they produce light via the gases and reflection of light and all of that, so they produce all of these super bright colors and are incredibly visible. Dark nebulae, instead, they are kind of a cloud of dust and more solid matter that blocks light, so they appear as kind of this dark void in the sky. Next up we have the Butterfly Nebula, which is found in the Scorpius constellation. It's classified as a bipolar planetary nebula with the two distinct separate halves. Now, I've been saying the more common names of the nebulae, but they do actually have scientific classification that are more boring and less easy to remember. For example, the Butterfly Nebula is scientifically classified as NGC 6302. Another example is this one, commonly known as Thor's Helmet Nebula, or NGC 2359 as it is more scientifically known. It is in the constellation Canis Major, and it has a more bubble shape in its classification. Up next we have the Jellyfish Nebula in the Gemini constellation, and this one is also classified as a supernova remnant. This one is probably the most famous nebula image, the Pillars of Creation. Now, the Pillars of Creation are actually part of a larger nebula called the Eagle Nebula. The Eagle Nebula is located in the Serpens constellation in the Sagittarius arm in the Milky Way. This was taken by the Hubble telescope, and if you know what a nebula is, you've probably seen this image absolutely popping off over the internet. This one is the Crab Nebula, and you would think that would be found in the constellation of Cancer, but it's actually found in the constellation of Taurus. Now, it's classified as both a supernova remnant and a pulsar wind nebula. A pulsar wind nebula is a type of specific nebula that's formed within a supernova remnant. Now, some nebulas, mostly planetary nebulas, have what is called a central star. These are, you guessed it, the star that is at the center of the nebula and causes basically the whole nebula to exist, at least in the case of the planetary nebulae. The one in specific in the Crab Nebula is the Crab Pulsar. Up next is the Horsehead Nebula, which is also located in the Orion constellation, but this one is located by Orion's belt. Specifically, it's located close to Alnitak, which is the easternmost star in Orion's belt, and it is a dark nebula largely named after this kind of little structure up here, which does vaguely resemble the head of a horse. Next up, we have this one, the Engraved Hourglass Nebula, and I'm gonna be so honest, I don't like this one. This one freaks me out. It freaks me out, I don't know why. I like the Helix Nebula, which also looks like an eyeball, but this one freaks me the fuck out. It's found in the Musca constellation, and it's a relatively new nebula with all of those very distinct rings produced by the combustion of different gases put off by the dying star, and I don't like it very much. Next up, we have this one, the Homunculus Nebula, and it is once again a bipolar one, just like the butterfly one. It is a very large nebula surrounding the entire star system of Eta Carinae. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It's classified as a reflection nebula as opposed to an emission nebula, where it just reflects the light from surrounding star systems instead of actually creating its own emissions via ionized gas. This one is the Trifid Nebula. It is found around the Sagittarius constellation, and its name comes from three lobe because it is very interesting and has kind of three main parts. That being a reflection nebula, an emission nebula, and a dark nebula, all at the same time in different parts of the Trifid Nebula, which is quite interesting. This one up here is another dark nebula, the Coalsack Nebula. It's found in the constellation of the Crux and can actually be seen obscuring part of the Milky Way. And finally, we have another rather famous one, the Bubble Nebula, which is a type of emission nebula found around the stars in the Cassiopeia constellation. It can be seen quite easily with cheap telescopes, as well as occasionally, if the conditions are good, by the naked eye. Now, there are plenty more nebulas with a lot of science and everything around them that I don't have time to get into. These were just some of my favorites, and I think that they are really cool.